Hey guys, got a talking video for you here this week. So I have a ton of updates I need to fill you guys in on, and I have so many projects all coming to a head right now. To say it's overwhelming would be an understatement. And so I have too many updates to be posting on social media and stuff. And I know you guys don't really like reading all that text anyway, and I get pretty wordy sometimes, so I think a video is the quickest and easiest way to do it. And that way you guys can just watch this video or listen to it. And honestly, I have so many juicy updates and details here that you're probably going to enjoy this video more than listening to me talk about paint or detailing or welding anyway. So, yeah, just sit back and enjoy. So first, you know, we'll start off with some of the smaller things here up front. The OM617 oil pans, I have a new iteration of that coming out. I've actually cut off the sides, I moved the drain to the middle, so it's going to clear the YJs a little better, or a lot better, I should say. It'll be a lot easier for me to weld it. It'll be a lot easier for the shop that forms them to form them. I think everybody's going to be a lot happier with it. So watch for that to be coming out here soon. Now the oil pickups, I've been modifying those, and it takes a ton of time. It takes a ton of effort to do it correctly. You can butcher your way through one, but I like to make it as clean as possible, and they're just taking too much time, so I'm no longer going to be offering that service. I'm still going to be making the parts so you can modify your own. I'm not just going to kill that product because the oil pan requires the pickup to be modified. But I'm not going to be offering those modified pickups for myself anymore. So I have that listed on the website. I've got a handful left because over the last couple of years I've acquired pickups so I could modify them and have them ready to go sitting on the shelf so I can ship out to you guys quicker. I'm going to sell those out basically till I have enough left for myself, and then we'll be done with that for now, because I've got a lot more projects that I would like to get out, and unfortunately some of these things I've created just take too much time for me to manufacture. So we'll be saying goodbye to that one. So I made the decision to anodize all of my aluminum parts. Now, unfortunately, you can't really anodize cast aluminum. It comes out looking pretty crappy, but all of my raw aluminum and machined aluminum parts, they're going to be anodized. I ran a poll on Facebook, and everybody said they either wanted clear or gold, so I split everything down the middle. I've done everything half clear and half gold. So the clear actually looks really awesome. It looks like brushed stainless. And then the gold looks like a block of gold. So they're both pretty cool. That's going to protect your parts from the road salt, especially up north. I've seen my adapter plates after a winter in Canada, and the roads are just brutal on aluminum. And so the threads will be anodized, and so that'll lubricate the threads, so that'll help for removal of bolts and prevent seizing down the road. In the TDI world, I actually got a hybrid pan for an ALH in here. Got that bolted on, measured the pattern, made my new plates for the W56. Unfortunately, I'd just run an R150 batch for both R150 adapters at the beginning of the year, so I'm sitting on a pile of those right now, but once those are sold out, I will update that pattern as well. But basically, for the W56 adapter with this new pattern, you used to have to grind out the inner relief cut to clearance your oil pan, or in some cases even the rear main seal retainer, because the newer engines, they keep changing how they put ribbing on there and stuff. Mine would clear the AHU and the ALH, and then after that, it may have required some grinding on your part. Well, I've taken care of that. I've worked with several customers with all the different engine variations, sending me dimensions. We've got everything clearanced now, so the one plate fits all the engines without any grinding. And then on the ALH hybrid pan, there's actually 3 threaded holes on the bottom of the oil pan on the aluminum part. And so I updated my pattern on my plate, put some countersunk holes on there so you can run 3 bolts into that oil pan now. The CJAA shares that same pattern. The BHW is an oddball, and so it's different. It does have threaded holes, but they're in different places, and actually they kind of overlap, so I couldn't make both work. So the bad thing is there are several different manufacturers of these pans. And so the pan that I reverse engineered, it all fit nice, and then the next pan I go to try on, some of the holes aren't lining up with the block. I had to slot some of the holes just to get all the bolts to go in for the block itself to hold the pan to the block. And then my holes in my adapter plate are shifted over from the pan. And the other problem I had was the pan was shifted forward on the block. So I was actually trying to tilt my adapter plate because my adapter plate couldn't sandwich up tight to the back of the block. So you might have to, depending on the type of oil pan you source, you might have to go in and clearance those holes. So that's, just another headache dealing with sloppy tolerances and these, I call it crap parts, Chinese replacement auto parts. That's what crap stands for. But, I'm going to address that on future runs, whether I got to slot the holes to take into account the variations and all these Chinese pans that are floating around. But other than that, it's not a big deal. You do that once and you get it bolted up, and then you'll never think about it again. And the great thing about these hybrid pans is it's an aluminum upper section that bolts the block, and then there's a steel pan on the bottom. It's just a cap. So if you want to get into the bottom end of your motor and inspect things, you can just take that little steel cap off, and the factory pans that were one piece, they bolt to the engine all the way around, including right underneath the rear main seal. And so you'd have to actually pull the transmission, pull the adapter plate just to get the oil pan off. But now you can take that steel cap off the bottom, and boom, you can get to the bottom of your motor and you don't have to pull anything. So they're really awesome, and they give you more clearance. They're really cheap, plus you get those extra couple threaded holes for the adapter plate, so that's another benefit there too. All right, so as the title says, there's been some pretty bad things happen in 2021. So at the beginning of the year, January 1st and 2nd, I literally spent 2 days updating my pricing on all my products because the price of material right up to New Year's was actually low. It was good. I actually announced that I was able to lower my prices on a lot of my products because of that. Well, then we turn right around on January 6th. I get notified from my fab shop. They're the people that supply my laser cut parts and my CNC form parts and such. Basically, I was paying 40 cents a pound for a certain material. I was now paying $1 at the time of January 6th. And it's gone up and down since then. And so basically I spent not 2 extra days, but it did take me another full day to go back through everything and update pricing. And I've had to do it every month since, which is just more downtime. And that's why you see my prices fluctuating, because the price of raw materials right now is nuts. Not only are they high, but there's a lot of shortages. And so thankfully, the price of aluminum and stainless took a while, but they ended up following in suit eventually as well. So everything's gone up. And then the lead times has just gone way up too. So right now I'm waiting an additional 2 weeks longer than I was supposed to have for some of my aluminum parts. I think 1/4 inch and 3/16 steel probably accounts for the majority of fab parts that are out there. And of course, 1/4 inch, I was waiting 5 weeks for this last order to come in, and I finally just got it here late Wednesday night. And so I spent yesterday welding up a whole bunch of 1/4 inch parts. Spent 9 hours on that, which would probably be a full day for most of you. I think I think I had a 15-hour day total yesterday, but spent 9 hours of that welding. Got caught up on all that, so feels good to be caught up on my end, but it's hell to go through all this. Not having anything come in, and then you get it and you have to do everything all at once. And so not only has that affected just general production of existing parts. So back in January, December, I decided to take on this huge project, the biggest one I've ever taken on. It's going to come out with a bunch of new transmission adapters, and I've been working on some of them for more than a year now, but got all this piled together. I wanted to do it all at once, and because the prototype testing and the just the prototype manufacturing, it's better to do all this at once. And so end of December, material's low. I'm feeling great about this coming into it, and I get everything designed and I'm ready to start running parts in January, and material just skyrockets. And so I stop right there at that point and I knock it down to about 6 adapters that I'm going to go with. There's material shortage, so we got longer lead times on it now. Prices are up. My room for error has just shrunk because I can't afford to be scrapping a bunch of stuff out here. Well, then things kind of start to go even further south. So I had a post at the end of January on social media that got a ton of attention about my new venture into the OM60X market, and I had fully intended to be running prototype parts basically the beginning of February to get everything dialed in, and then run a small little production run at the end of February. And everything was in line for that. And unfortunately, I started having some issues with the machine shop I've been using. We didn't end up getting things dialed in until the end of February, and by rights we should have had everything out 2 weeks after that. Well, March, April, May, I just got the parts here late Monday night, and so 3 months later I finally have all the parts in my possession. But talk about just an epic fail. This project has just added so much stress to my life. So long story short, I said in a recent social media post that some events took place and some things transpired that ultimately caused a significant delay in all these parts coming out. But I wasn't going to talk about it then. I'd elaborate later. Well, I'm going to elaborate now on that. So I've been using the same machine shop for the last 6 years. One guy operation for the most part. We've always enjoyed helping each other out, as we're both small business owners, true entrepreneurs. And it's gone great up until this year. And I don't know what happened, but he started charging me, he's billing me double his shop rate on certain projects without discussing it, and leading me on, telling me he'd be working on my parts the next week. I'll be working on them next week. I'll be working on them next week. Well, here we are, 3 months later, I finally have my parts. Needless to say, I'm done with that whole mess. I've got some really, really high aspirations for the shop I'm working with now. They're about 7 times the size. They've got some really awesome machines that can do a lot more stuff that I wasn't able to do before, and it is just, the future is looking so bright. I've already gotten a lot of parts from this new shop, and you already have some of them in your possession now. And so I'm really, really looking forward to this. But that's the backstory there in more detail as to why the OM60X and other new adapters have taken so long to get out, because I've basically just been getting shafted for the past 3 or 4 months, and it sucks. It's not something I would have ever foreseen. It's made me thankful for what I've been able to accomplish with Doomsday so far, but man, it just it kind of takes the steam out of you. It takes the wind out of your sails, to say the least. So I want to touch base on the OM60X and these new adapters. So I want to ask you guys. I'd like to come up with something. I don't know that OM60X really rolls off the tongue, but we're talking about the OM601, OM602, OM603, OM604, OM605, and OM606 engines. And so we got to abbreviate that. It's either going to be OM60X, OM6OT, or OM60X. Or if you guys have any other suggestions, leave a comment below. OM60X doesn't really roll off the tongue for me. A lot of people just say OM606, but honestly, I don't expect to sell a whole lot of these parts for the 606s. I think it's going to be more for the 602s and the 603s, because there's just not that many 606s in the US. But I kind of like the sound of OM60X or OM6OT, but let me know. But anyway, so getting into these new adapters, I just got everything finally in hand late this past Monday night. We've got hardware now. I had to literally spend a full day going through everything, finalizing hardware packages, making sure everything's kosher there. And last but not least, I had to figure out the boxes for everything so I could ship these parts as economically as possible for you guys to save you money. And now I'm just at the point that I have to go through and film and photograph the installation of each individual adapter and setup so I can make the installation instruction videos and PDF documents. And then I can finally get these things shipped out. I was planning on shipping these out in February. So, gosh, I've got, I had mentioned I have multiple projects coming to a head all at once. I had all that steel come in this week, so that took a full day out of me. We got taxes that are due. That's going to take a full day out of me. And I got to get all these videos recorded for the OM6OT series. That's going to take at least a full day. So please bear with me. I appreciate your guys' patience as this stuff continues to roll out. I'm going to be so happy when it's done, because I've got some seriously sweet projects, builds that I think you guys are going to love. I'm going to kind of pull the reins a little bit on this R&D and this new product development. I've got a couple more products that I'm going to be coming out with here this year, but nothing as extensive as what you've seen so far at all. I've been coming out with new parts almost every week this year, and it's definitely taken its toll on my bank account. That's another thing I wanted to hit on, was this whole project, and I'm very thankful for what I'm about to tell you. And I realize a lot of people were hit hard last year in 2020, but fortunately it led to the opportunity for me to get a loan from the SBA, and without that loan I would have never been coming out with all these parts. These new transmission adapters, they wouldn't have happened. Things were really tight for me last year, just like I know it was for a lot of you out there, but I got this awesome loan from the SBA, and I've put it 100% to use into development of new products. And so that's why I've been so aggressive. It's been just an absolute godsend. And so getting back into the 60X adapters, actually hardware wise, I'm not 100% done. I just got completely shell-shocked by ARP, who supplies a bunch of my hardware. Well, apparently they have two main engineers, one of whom died in this whole corona mess. And they've also had to completely send all their sales reps home, other than like 2 people, because they can't work that close together in California. Well, the other thing is, anytime at their facilities, if they get an outbreak, apparently they have to shut down for like a month. And so obviously they can't manufacture parts if they're shut down. And so I guess they've had roughly 6 months of inventory on the shelf until now. Every time they shut down, they just start eating away at that inventory. Well, I guess they finally ran out of inventory, because normally my stuff's shipping out in less than 3 weeks. And this last order for all these new prototype parts, a month had gone by. I called in to ask them where my parts were, and they said, well, it's going to be 4 to 5 more months before you get your stuff. I guess that's one of the evils of using custom-made hardware, is it's custom. So I'm out of luck. I don't have anywhere else that makes this stuff. So I scrounged around. I got the stuff that I could get for now. I've got that listed on my website. If you want an adapter for a transmission, now's the time to get it, because once I run out, I have everything on order from them, but I'm not getting it until August. So once I'm out, I'm going to be out for a couple months. So that could put a serious damper on this 60X series of trans adapters, because it uses a lot of ARP hardware. You're going to find out here in my install videos that there's a lot of ARP hardware that goes into these transmission adapters. It's critical. It's based off their hardware. No other hardware can take its place. So that was just a massive blow. Between the material prices going up, can't get material, can't get hardware. The machine shop is not making my parts. They're doubling my cost on stuff for no apparent reason. It's just been a hell of a year. Moving past all that, the 60X and the other two new adapters, we have one for the small block Ford for the OM617 and one for the GM. The GM, it's a pretty intricate adapter. I've actually got 2 parts left to manufacture. I have the actual plate, the crankshaft adapter, but I have 2 parts that I have to make for the starter to bolt on. So that's going to be coming out here in the next couple weeks, and that's actually the one I'm the most excited about. The one for the small block Ford, it's pretty straightforward. It's just like the AX15 for the OM617. It actually had to go back to the machine shop to get a couple things touched up on it that didn't get made to print. So those are actually not going to be getting shipped out here for a little bit yet. All the 60X adapters, another thing about this is that's been kind of delaying things a bit is I've been trying to secure a couple patents on a couple different design aspects of these adapters. Things that really stand me apart from everyone else. And I'm only 29. I would love to have 2 patents before, while I'm still in my 20s, to have 2 patents in my 20s. That would just be incredible to me. To have 2 patents in my life, period, would be incredible to me. But that's why I can't share all of the details that a lot of you are asking for. I'd love to share all of it, but unfortunately I've got to be selective with the stuff that I put out there until we get some of our I's dotted and T's crossed on this stuff. So I think you're really, really going to be impressed with what I've come up with for these adapters. And I know you guys are looking forward to it. You've been messaging me like crazy, and I can't answer all your guys' questions, and I know it's driving you guys nuts, but it's driving me nuts too. So I can't wait to release all this stuff and let you guys dig into it and digest it, and let me know what you guys think. So all right, guys, I've talked long enough. So I've got the OM60X adapter installation videos coming up. I think I'm going to put that into one video and just timestamp it with the different transmissions. I'll probably drop that as soon as I can. It doesn't really count as a weekly video. And then I actually have a 2-part series about some detailing chemicals coming up. I'm really excited to get that out for you, but I've got to edit through 6 hours of material, which is going to take a while to get it down to a bearable amount for you guys so you can watch it all. And I'm really excited for that. Put a lot of work into it. Found some really good results at the end. It's going to save you guys a lot of money. There's a lot of people on YouTube that are just screwing people, just telling you to buy stuff that's junk because the companies are paying them to sell it to you. And I'm going to expose a lot of that and hopefully save you guys a lot of money. So thanks for watching this update. If you have any questions, always feel free to email me or call me. And oh, speaking of which, I also updated my hours. I'm now at Monday through Friday, 7 to 4 Central Time. I took Saturday off of my listed hours because I have commitments on Saturdays for the majority of the year now. But on the bright side, I have 3 hours of round trip driving I do on Saturdays, so I will still return your phone calls as I can while I'm on the road. So don't be afraid to reach out because I'll always get back to you whenever I can. So thanks again, guys, and we'll see you next week.